I was recently tagged by the Comic Sniper, a fellow YouTuber who released a video in which he highlighted his top 10 raw books from his collection that he has multiple copies of. And he challenged me to present similar books in a video of my very own. My challenge, however, is that I tend to buy a slabbed copy of a book and then raw copies. So because I'm at a disadvantage, I decided to do things a little bit differently. And I decided to take it back to the 90s. If you want to see the books that I'm going to show, stay tuned to this video. Reggie here, your friendly neighborhood bodybuilder and comic book collector, and I want to welcome you to another one of my videos. In this video, we are taking it back to the 90s. The Comic Sniper tagged me in one of his videos recently and encouraged me to put together a video of my own in which I showcase raw copies of books that I have multiple copies of. As you heard in the intro, I'm at a little bit of a disadvantage for doing that because I tend to buy slab copies and then backup copies are raw. So I decided to mix it up and I decided to take it back to the 90s, and what I'll be showing you in this video are books that I have from the 90s that I have multiple copies of that are raw. So the first book that I want to show you guys is one that will be no stranger to any of you. It is SpiderMan #1. This is Todd McFarlane's baby, and I have multiple copies of this book. Whether you're talking about gold or silver, the green, multiple copies of it. And in fact, I have how many? 5 copies of the gold version alone. So there you go. This is a wonderful book that takes me right back to high school. I remember reading this book in my bedroom basement over and over again. It is a wonderful book, and I think many of you probably have the same book in your collections if you were collecting back in the 90s. We're gonna kind of stick with this Image Guys theme and showcase another book from another Image Guy, specifically Rob Liefeld, the man who doesn't necessarily draw feet all that well, but he has actually gotten a lot better. And so what I have is the New Mutants #100. Definitely an iconic cover with this book. And for whatever reason, this book just captures my imagination. So whenever I see it, I have to pick up a copy of it. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 raw copies of New Mutants #100. I probably have a couple more that I just can't find, and also some slab copies as well. But again, sticking with this idea of the Image Guys, who were the quintessential comic book artists of the 90s, I bring to you Jim Lee's Wildcats #1, a personal favorite of mine. I am a huge Jim Lee fan, and so again, whenever I see this particular book, or even #2 for that matter, I pick up a copy of it. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4 copies of that book as well. Again, another iconic book directly from the 90s. And so, sticking with the theme of Jim Lee, because he is a favorite of mine, I offer to you X-Men #1. This is a wonderful folds-out cover that I recently showcased this book in another video of mine, but I did not show this particular one. But someone actually asked if I had a copy of it. Sure enough, I have 4 copies of this one as well. And it is impossible to do a video about the 90s without the Dark Hawk. This is another book that I've spoken about recently, and I have multiple copies of this one. In fact, 4 copies of this book. And if you know anything about it, you know that this book right now, or at least recently, was going for a healthy amount of money as a 9.8 book. And this is one that is, this book traditionally sits in the back of someone's long box and doesn't get much attention. But as of late, people have started to pay attention to this particular book. So Comic Sniper, there you have it. My top books from the 90s, all in raw format. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Take care.